Hi, welcome back. Today we'll continue reading The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin, starting with chapter 22. Quick recap of the events that happened the last time we read. Judge Ford and Sandy have discovered that Grace may be related to Crow's ex-husband and a woman named Sybil Pulowski, rather than Sidel Pulowski, was childhood friends with Crow. So they believe that the wrong Pulowski woman was selected as a possible heir. The judge believes Sam's Westing former wife is one of the heirs, and she thinks that that is the person who's being framed for the murder, since she believes that he is doing this as a big game to get revenge on someone. She doesn't believe that he was actually murdered. We also found out that she used to live in the Westing house because her parents worked on the estate, and Sam Westing funded her education, both in undergraduate and law school. And Turtle set off fireworks in the elevator to take credit for the bombs to protect Angela, since Angela was the actual bomber. And then Sidel and Angela think that they have figured out their clues because they connected them all to America the Beautiful, the song. So things are picking up a little bit, and we will find out what happens next in chapter 22. Chapter 22. Losers, Winners. Saturday morning, a new message was posted in the elevator. I, Turtle Wexler, confess to those 4 bombs. I'm sorry, it was a dumb thing to do, and I won't do it again. But I am not the burglar, and I never murdered anybody, ever. Your friend, Turtle. P.S. To make up for scaring you, I will treat everybody here to an exquisite Chinese cuisine dinner when I win the inheritance. Poor Grace, Mr. Hu said. One daughter almost killed, the other one a bomber. Smart aleck kid. First she blows up my kitchen, then she advertises my cuisine. Win the inheritance. Ha! Maybe I'm lucky my son is a dumb jock. Boom, Madam Hu said happily. She knew where they were going. Always on the day when Doug ate 6 eggs for breakfast, he ran around and around a big track, and people clapped and gave him a shiny medal. Doug was so proud of his medals. She would never take them, not even the gold one, not even if it took her 2 more years to pay to go back to China. No, she would never take Doug's medals, and she would never sell that wonderful clock with the mouse who wears gloves and points to the time. You must be out of your mind, Jake Wexler. Go to a track meet with all those people pointing at me, snickering, saying, Look, there she is, the mother of Cain and Abel. I'm not even sure I have the nerve to show my face at the Westing house tonight. Come on, Grace, it'll do you good. The podiatrist urged his reluctant wife down the 3rd floor hall. Stop thinking about yourself for a change. Think how poor Turtle must feel. Don't ever mention that child to me again, not after what she did to Angela. I never told you this, Jake, but I've always had a sinking sensation that the hospital mixed up the babies when Turtle was born. It's no wonder she wanted to blow us all up, he said. Grace's despair exploded in anger. Oh, I get it. You're putting the blame on me. If you had given her a good talking to about kicking people when I asked, she might not have ended up a common criminal. Whatever became of that fun-loving woman I married? What was her name? Gracie Windclapple? Grace quickly looked around to see if anyone had overheard that ugly name, but they were in the elevator, alone. Oh, I know what people think, she complained. Poor Jake Wexler, good guy, everybody's friend, married to that uppity would-be decorator. Well, Angela's not going to have a scrimp and save to make ends meet. She's going to marry a real doctor. I'll see to that. Sure you will, Grace. You'll see that Angela doesn't marry a loser like her father. A real doctor, she says. A podiatrist is a real doctor. Well, it is these days, but when he went to school it was different. He could have gone back, taken more courses. But he was married by then, a father. Oh, who's he kidding? Gracie's right. He is a loser. Next she'll mention having to give up her family because she married a Jew. No, she never brings that up. Grace, with all her faults, would never do that. The elevator door opened to the lobby. Grace turned to her silent, sad-eyed husband, the loser. Oh, Jake, what's happening to us? What's happening to me? Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not a nice person. Jake pressed the closed door button and took his sobbing wife into his arms. It's all right, Gracie. We're going home. The doors opened on the 2nd floor. Mom, what's the matter with her, Daddy? Why's she crying? Gee, Mom, I'm sorry. It was just a few fireworks. If her mother ever found out who the real bomber was, she'd really go to pieces. Turtle looked even more like a turtle today, with her sad little face peering out of the kerchief tied under her small chin. Let go of the door, Turtle, Jake said, and have a good time at the track meet. You too, Mrs. Baumbach. Track meet? They weren't going to a track meet, and they were sure not going to have a good time. Grace was still sobbing on Jake's shoulder as he led her into their apartment. Mother, what's the matter? What's wrong with her, Dad? Nothing. Angela, your mother's just having a good cry. Why don't you and Miss Pulaski leave us alone for a while? Come, Angela, Siddell said, prodding her with the tip of one of her mismatched crutches. We have some painting to do. Angela looked back at the embracing couple. Her father's face was buried in her weeping mother's tousled hair. They had not asked how she had gotten home from the hospital. By taxi. They had not asked if she was still in pain. Not much. They had not even peeked under the bandage to see if a scar was forming on her cheek. There was. Angela was on her own. Well, that's what she wanted, wasn't it? Yes it was. She uttered a short laugh, and her hand flew up to the pain in her face. Do I look funny or something? No, I wasn't laughing at you, Siddell. I'd never laugh at you. It's just that suddenly everything seemed all right. It's all right, her partner replied, unlocking the 4 locks on her apartment door. Tonight's the night we're going to win it all. Were they? The will said look for a name. They had a song, not a name. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, Siddell began to sing, for purple waves of grain. Not purple, Angela corrected her. Amber, for amber waves of grain. Amber! Judge Ford paced the floor. Tonight, Sam Westing would wreak his revenge unless she could prevent it. If she was right, the person in danger was the former Mrs. Westing. And if Turtle was right about the wax dummy, Sam Westing himself might be there to watch the fun. There was a knock on her door. The judge was surprised to see Denton Deere, even more surprised when he wheeled Chris Theodorakis into her apartment. Hello, Judge. Everybody else in the building is going to a track meet, it seems. I passed Sandy on the way out, and he said you wouldn't mind having Chris for part of the afternoon. I've got to get back to the hospital. Hello, Judge Ford. Chris held out a steady hand, which the judge shook. You're looking well, Chris. The medicine helped a lot. It's a big step forward, the intern said. Wrong word. The kid may never leave that wheelchair. An even more effective medication is now in the developmental stage. That really sounded pompous. Well, so long, Chris. See you tonight. Thanks, Judge. He knows a lot of big words, Chris said. Yes, he certainly does, Judge Ford replied. What was she going to do with this boy here? She had so much to think about, so much to plan. You can work. I'll birdwatch, Chris offered, wheeling to the window, his binoculars banging against his thin chest. Good idea. The judge returned to her desk to study the newspaper clippings. Mrs. Westing, a tall, thin woman. She may no longer be thin, but she would still be tall. About 60 years old. If Sam Westing's former wife was one of the heirs, she had to be Crow. Look, Chris shouted, startling the judge into dropping her files to the floor. She rushed to his side, thinking he needed help. Look up there, Judge. Isn't it beautiful? High in the fall sky, a V of geese was flying south. Yes, it was a beautiful sight. Those are geese, the judge explained. Canada goose, Bronta canadinus, Chris replied. The judge was impressed, but she had work to do. Stooping to gather the dropped clippings, she was confronted by the face of Sam Westing. The photograph had been taken 15 years ago. Those piercing eyes, the Van Dyke beard, that short-beaked nose, like a turtle's. The wax dummy in the coffin had been molded in the former image of Sam Westing as he looked 15 years ago, not as he looked now. She searched the folder. No recent photographs, no hospital records, no death certificate, just the accident report from the State Highway Police. Dr. Sidney Sykes suffered a crushed leg, and Samuel W. Westing had severe facial injuries. Facial injuries? It was the face that had disappeared 15 years ago, not the man. Westing had a different face, a face remodeled by plastic surgery, a different face, and a different name. Now what? Her gaze rested on her charge at the window. Feeling her eyes, Chris turned around. The boy has a nice smile. I hope you are better at filling cavities than making false teeth, Turtle said, gripping the arms of the dentist's chair. In a glass cabinet against the wall, 3 rows of dentures grinned at her with crooked teeth, overlapping teeth, notched teeth. Those faults are what make the dentures look real, the dentist explained. Nothing in nature is quite perfect, you know. Now, open your mouth wide. Wider. Ow! Turtle screamed before the probe touched the tooth. Just relax, young lady. I'll tell you when to say ow. Turtle tried to think about other things. False teeth, buck teeth, that rotten buck-toothed Barney Northrup stopped by this morning to tell the Wexlers they would have to pay for all the damage done by the bombs. Barney Northrup had called her parents irresponsible and had called her something worse, much worse. He was sure surprised by that kick. It was her hardest one ever. Now you can say ow. The dentist unclipped the towel from her shoulder. Turtle passed her tongue over the drilled tooth. She had not felt a thing, but the real pain was yet to come. Flora Baumbach was taking her to the beauty parlor to have her singed hair cut off. College teams from 5 states competed in the first indoor track meet of the season, but the big event, the mile run, was won by a high school senior. That's my boy! That's my Doug! Mr. Hu shouted, one voice among thousands cheering the youngster on his victory lap. Cameras flashed as Doug posed, smiling broadly, index fingers high in the air. I owe it all to my dad, he told reporters, and cameras flashed again as Doug flung an arm around the proud Mr. Hu. Just wait until the next Olympics, the inventor thought. With Doug's feet and my inner soles, he'll run them all to the ground. Later that evening, Madame Hu, chattering in unintelligible Chinese, made it known that she wanted Doug to wear his prize to the Westinghouse. Standing on tiptoe, she placed the ribbon over his bent head and patted the shiny gold medal in place on his chest. Good boy, she said in English. A saddened Sandy returned to apartment 4D. Hi, Chris. Did you talk to him, Judge? Talk to whom? Barney Northrup. He was waiting at the front door when I got back from the track meet, mad as a wet cat. Said he had lots of complaints about me, never being on duty, drinking on the job, lies like that. He fired me right on the spot. I told him you wanted to see him, figuring you might put in a good word so he'd let me stay on. No, Mr. McSuthers, I'm sorry, but I haven't seen Barney Northrup since I rented this apartment. Barney Northrup, was that Westing's disguise? False buck teeth, slick back black wig, pasted on mustache? Well, it's not the first time I got fired for no cause. The dejected doorman blew his nose loudly in a Westing man-sized hanky. Hey, Chris, bet you don't know the Latin name of the red-headed woodpecker. That was a hard one. Chris had to say Melanurpes erythrocephalus very slowly. Some smart kid, hey, Judge? Chris, the judge and I have a little business to discuss. Excuse us for a minute. Judge Ford joined the doorman in the kitchen. Our game plan is this, Mr. McSuthers. We give no answer. No answer at all. Our duty is to protect Westing's ex-wife. Crow? Sandy guessed. That's right. There's something else that's been bothering me, Judge. I know it sounds crazy, but, well, I found out Otis Amber doesn't live in the grocer's basement, and he's not as dumb as he pretends. He's a snoop and a troublemaker, and I don't think he is who he says he is. And who do you think Otis Amber is? The judge asked. Sam Westing. Judge Ford leaned against the sink and pressed her head against the cabinet. If Sandy was correct, she had played right into the man's hands. Sam Westing's hands. Come on, Crow. You always like to get there early to open the door for people. Crow had stopped in the middle of the steep road to stare up at the Westing house. I've got a funny feeling that something evil is waiting for me up there, Otis. It's a bad house, full of misery and sin. He's still there, you know. Sam Westing is dead and buried. Come on, if we don't go, we gotta give the money back, and we already spent it up on the soup kitchen. I feel his presence, Otis. He's looking for a murderer. Violet's murderer. Stop scaring yourself with these crazy notions. You sound like you're on the bottle again. Crow strode ahead. I didn't mean that, Crow. Honest. Look up there at that moon. Isn't it romantic? Somebody's in real danger, Otis, and I think it's me. Chapter 23. Strange Answers. Lawyer Plum was there and one pair of airs when Otis Amber danced into the game room. He, the turtle's lost its tail, I see. Turtle slumped low in her chair. Flora Bombach thought the short, sleek haircut was adorable, especially the way it swept forward over her little chin. But Turtle did not want to look adorable. She wanted to look mean. The dressmaker fumbled past the wad of money in her handbag. "Here, Alice, I thought you might like to see this." Turtle glanced at the old snapshot. It's Baba, all right, except younger. Same dumb smile. Suddenly she sat upright. "That's my daughter, Rosalie," Flora Bombach said. "She must have been 9 or 10 when that picture was taken." Rosalie was squat and square and squinty. Her protruding tongue was too large for her mouth. Her head lolled to one side. "I think I would have liked her, Baba," Turtle said. "Rosalie looks like she was a very happy person. She must have been nice to have around." Thump, 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 thump. "Here come the victims," Sidel Pulaski announced. Angela greeted her sister with a wave of her crimson-streaked healing hand. Turtle had convinced her not to confess. It would mean a criminal record. It would kill their mother, and no one would believe her anyhow. "I like your haircut," Angela said. "Thanks," Turtle replied. Now Angela had to love her forever. Most of the heirs had a comment on Turtle's hair. "You look like a real businesswoman," Sandy said. "Well, that's a nice improvement," Denton Deer said. "You look nice," Chris said. Only Theo, bent over the chessboard, said nothing. White had moved the king's bishop since the last meeting. It was his move. At last the stares turned from Turtle's hair to a more surprising sight. Judge Ford strode in regally as an African princess, her noble head swathed in a turban, her tall body draped in yards of hand-printed cloth. She slipped a note to Denton Deer, then sailed to her place at table 4. Goggle-eyed Otis Amber was speechless. They all were, except for Sandy. "Gee, that's a nifty outfit, Judge. Is that what you call ethnic?" The judge did not reply. "Applaud! The local hero has arrived." Doug raised his arms, pointing his index fingers to the flaking gilt ceiling in the "I'm number 1" sign, then acknowledged the clapping with a victory lap around the room. "Here come the Wexlers," Mr. Who remarked, seating his puzzled wife at table 1. Turtle exchanged an anxious glance with Angela. The last time they saw their mother, she was crying her head off. Now the tears were gone from her bleary eyes, but she was staggering, giggling. Her hair was a mess. "Sorry we're late," Jake apologized. "We lost track of time." They had been clinking wine glasses in a small cafe, the cafe they used to go to before they were married, toasting good times. They had many good times together, many good memories shared, it seems, 3 big wine bottles full. Happy Grace waved at the heirs. She felt so wonderful, so overflowing with love for Jake, for everybody. "Hi, Mom," Turtle called. Grace blinked at a young, short-haired girl. "Who's that?" Jake greeted his partner with a "How are you this fine day?" "Doug Wynne," replied Madam Who. Having opened the door to the last of the heirs, a tense and troubled Crow took her seat next to Otis Amber. Ghost threatened, she waited for the unseen. "Hey, lawyer, can we open these?" Otis Amber shouted, waving an envelope. A similar envelope lay on each table. His forehead creased with uncertainty, Ed Plum fumbled through his papers. "I guess so," was his opinion. Cheers erupted as the heirs withdrew the checks. Again, Judge Ford signed her name to the $10,000 check and handed it to the doorman. "Here you are, Mr. McSuthers. This should tide you over until you find another job." Sandy's heartfelt thanks were muffled by Sidel Pulaski's loud, "Shh! Shh!" Grace Wexler mimicked. Then she dropped her head into her crossed arms on the table and fell asleep to the sound of the lawyer's throat-clearing coughs. 12th. Welcome again to the Westinghouse. By now you have received a second check for $10,000. Before the day is done, you may have won more, much more. Table by table, each pair will be called to give one, and only one, answer. The lawyer will record your response in case of a dispute. He does not know the answer. It is up to you. 1. Madam Sun Lin Hu, cook. Jake Wexler, bookie. Bookie? He must have really been distracted when he signed that receipt. Jake studied the 5 clues on the table. Of, America, and God above. Even knowing his wife's clues didn't help. He'd have to gamble on a long shot. "Say something," he said to his partner. "Boom," said Madam Who. Ed Plum wrote Table 1, boom. 2. Flora Bombach, dressmaker. Turtle Wexler, financier. Turtle read a prepared statement. In spite of the fact that the stock market dropped 30 points since we received our $10,000, we have increased our capital to $11,587.50, an appreciation of 27.8% calculated on an annual basis. Flora Bombach slapped a wad of bills on the table and 2 clinking quarters. In cash, she said. Ed Plum asked them to repeat their answer. Table 2's answer is $11,587.50. Sandy applauded. Turtle took a bow. Table 3, Christos Theodorakis, ornithologist. D. Denton Deer, intern. Ornithologist? Ornithologist? His brother must have given him that fancy title when he filled in the receipt. Maybe he would become an ornithologist someday. He was a lucky person, getting that medicine and all. He didn't want to accuse anybody, not Judge Ford, Apartment 4D, not Otis, Grain, Amber, not the limper. Just about everybody limped at one time or another. Today, Sandy was limping. I think Mr. Westing is a good man, Chris said aloud. I think his last wish was to do good deeds. He gave me a partner who helped me. He gave everybody the perfect partner to make friends. What's Table 3's answer? The lawyer asked. Denton Deer replied. Our answer is, Mr. Westing was a good man. Table 4. J.J. Ford, judge. Alexander McSuthers, fired. We don't have an answer, the ex-doorman responded as planned. The judge looked at Table 3. Denton Deer, her note in his hand, shook his head, which meant, no, Otis Amber has not had plastic surgery done on his face. The judge returned to Table 6. Otis Amber cannot be Sam Westing. She was right to have trusted him. But Crow was expecting something to happen. Crow knows she is the answer. She knows she is the one. Table 5. Grace Windclapple Wexler, restaurateur. James Hu, inventor. Grace raised her head. Did someone say Windclapple? Never mind Windclapple, it's our turn, Hu snarled. The lawyer got names and positions all fouled up, and I've got a drunk for a partner. He prodded Grace to her feet. Faces were swirling, the floor was swaying. Grace grabbed the edge of the floating table and gave her answer in a thick, slurred voice. The newly decorated restaurant, Who's on First, the eatery of athletes, will hold its grand reopening on Sunday. Specialty of the day, fruited sea bass on purple waves. Grace sat down where the chair wasn't. Turtle gasped. Angela looked away, and the airs tittered as Jake helped his wife up from the floor. What is Table 5's answer, please? The lawyer pressed. Ed Plum, said Mr. Hu. Yes, sir? That's our answer. Ed Plum. Oh. Table 6. Bertha Erica Crow, mother. Otis Amber, deliverer. Mother? Did I write mother? Crow mumbled. Is that your answer? Ed Plum asked. I don't know, Otis Amber replied. Is mother our answer, Crow? He could have sworn she had again signed the receipt, Good Salvation Soup Kitchen. Crow repeated mother, and that's what the lawyer wrote down. Table 7. Doug Hu, champ. Theodorakis, writer. Their clues, a chemical formula for an explosive and the letters O-T-I-S. Doug, basking in glory, didn't care. Theo stood, turned to the man he was about to accuse, and saw the scene in the soup kitchen, saw Otis Amber cooking soup for the dirty, hungry men. No answer, Theo said, sitting down. Table 8. Sidel Pulaski, victim. Angela Wexler, person. Sidel was dressed for the occasion in red and white stripes. Leaning on crutches decorated with white stars on a field of blue to match the cast on her ankle, she hummed into a pitch pipe and began to sing one note above the pitch she played. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. What a spectacle she made, her wide rear end sticking out, singing in that tuneless nasal voice. The derisive smiles soon faded as pair by pair the airs heard their code word sung. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Such a beautiful song, Grace Wexler slurred, but the others sat in somber silence. Even Turtle thought Table 8 had won. What is your answer? Ed Plum asked. Our answer, said El Pulaski, announced with certainty, is Otis Amber. The heirs listened to the lawyer read the next document, but their eyes stayed fixed on Table 8's answer, Otis Amber. 13th. Okay, folks, there will be a short break before the big winner is announced. Bertha Erica Crow, please rise and go to the kitchen for refreshments. Dazed with fear, Crow rose. The 13th section. 13 was an unlucky number. Judge Ford told Sandy to follow her. Hey, Crow, old pal, do me a favor and fill this for me, he said, handing her his flask as they left through the door. I'll go on the wagon starting tomorrow. Promise. Angela left the room too, concerned over Crow's trance-like state. Turtle followed Angela to make sure she didn't end up in the fireworks room again. The judge remained seated, watching the remaining heirs who were watching Otis Amber. The delivery boy had enough of their suspicions. He swept a pointed finger across their range, imitating the sound of a machine gun. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Crow and Angela came back with 2 large trays. Turtle returned empty-handed, puzzled but much relieved. The judge joined Denton Deer and Chris at table 3, bringing a plate of small cakes with her. None of the heirs have had plastic surgery as far as I can tell, the intern remarked, but your partner sure could have used some. The judge studied Sandy McSuther's prize-fighter face as he leaned against the open doorway. Their eyes met, and he lifted his flask in salute. Anybody want a drink? Sure, Grace Wexler replied with a giggle, but Jake gave her a cup of strong black coffee instead. We must keep our wits about us, Mr. McSuthers, Judge Ford said, walking toward him. Sam Westing has not made his final move. Nothing like scotch to clear the head, he replied. He took a long swig, coughed, wiped his mouth on the sleeve of his uniform, and glared at Crow with narrowed, watery eyes. Theo grinned down at the chess table. White had made another move, a careless move. He licked the cake crumbs from his fingers, wiped his hand on a Westing paper tea napkin, and took his opponent's queen from the board. At least he had won the chess game. Perched on a corner of table 8, the young lawyer tried to start a conversation with Angela, ignoring Sidel Pulaski, who twice asked, Surely you must have the answer, Mr. Plum. She nudged her partner. Surely you must have the answer, Mr. Plum, Angela repeated sweetly. Ah, of course. At least, I assume I do, he replied. My instructions are to open the documents one by one at the scheduled time. He checked his watch. Oops, he was 1 minute late. Ed Plum hurried to the billiard table, tore open the next envelope, and pulled out the document, cutting his finger on the paper's edge. 14th. Go directly to the library. Do not pass go. Chapter 24. Wrong. All wrong. Grace Wexler clung unsteadily to Mr. Who's arm. Where are we going? Who knows, Who replied. We didn't even pass go. Partner sat with partner at the long library table, moaning with impatience as Ed Plum opened another envelope, removed a tagged key, tried to unlock the top right-hand drawer, reread the tag, unlocked the upper left-hand drawer, and found the next document. 15th. Wrong. All answers are wrong. What? Sidel Pulaski cried. I repeat, wrong. All answers are wrong. Partnerships are canceled. You are on your own. Alone. The lawyer will leave and return with the authorities at the appointed time. And time is running out. Hurry, find the name before the one who took my life takes another. Remember, it is not what you have, it is what you don't have that counts. Madame Who knew from the shifting eyes that a bad person was in the room. She was the bad person. They would all find out soon. The crutch lady had her writing book back, but all those pretty things she was going to sell, they wanted them back too. She would be punished. Soon. How much time do we have? Turtle asked. Ed Plum left the library without answering. And locked the door. Oh my! Flora Baumbach ran to the French doors. They opened. Sidel Pulaski complained of a chill, and the dressmaker had to shut the doors, but she left them unlatched, just in case. Mr. Who said the tea tasted funny. Maybe they had all been poisoned. Denton Deer diagnosed paranoia. The doorman, who was pacing the room, replied that anyone who was not paranoid, after being told that the murderer would kill again, was really crazy. He stopped to pat Turtle's slumped shoulders. Cheer up, my friend. The game's not over yet. Sandy whispered, You can still win. I hope you do. Otis Amber told everyone to sit where he could watch them. Theo rose. I think it's about time we played as a team and shared our clues and shared the inheritance. With the murderer? Well, all right. Agreed. Sidel Pulaski still thought the answer had something to do with America the Beautiful. Does anybody have a clue word that is not in the song? I'm not sure, Doug said mischievously. Sing it again. No one cared for that idea. It is not what you have, it is what you don't have that counts, Jake Wexler reminded them. Maybe some words in the song are missing from the clues. That makes sense. Does anyone have the word amber? Mr. Who asked. Not again, Otis Amber groaned. You heard the will. It said all answers were wrong. Well, I was one of the wrong answers. Well, but Mr. Westing wrote the will before the game began, Sidel argued. Perhaps he assumed we weren't smart enough to find you out so soon. Judge Ford did not interfere. Otis Amber could take care of himself. She had to be prepared to defend Crow when the time came. Crow sat with her head bowed, waiting. No one had the word amber, but 2 pairs had am in their clues. 2 ams do not an amber make, Sidel declared. 2 ams stand for America, America. I've got America, Jake Wexler shouted. I've got America. Ravings of a madman, Mr. Who thought. The podiatrist. Could he be the one? Jake explained in a calmer voice. The 2 ams could not stand for America, America, because one of my clues is America. Sandy stood, took a long swig from his flask, coughed, then spoke in a hoarse voice. We're getting nowhere. Why doesn't everybody hand in their clues so Miss Pulaski can arrange them in order and we can see what's missing? Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. The judge watched Sandy collect the clues. Just write them out again, he said to Turtle, who had eaten the originals. Then he placed the paper squares before the secretary and resumed his seat. What was her partner doing? Why was he playing into Westing's hands? He knows the answer. He knows he's leaving the heirs to Crow. Again the judge studied the doorman's battered face, the scars, the bastion nose, the hard blue eyes under those taped spectacles, the baggy uniform. Everyone was given the perfect partner, Chris said. Chris was right. She was paired with the one person who could confound her plans, manipulate her moves, keep her from the truth. Her partner, Sandy McSuthers, was the only heir she had not investigated. Her partner, Sandy McSuthers, was Sam Westing. The secretary quickly arranged the clues in order. O, beautiful for spacious skies, for am, waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above fruited plain. America, am, God shed his grace on thee, and in thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. The missing words, Sidel Pulaski announced, are Bertha, Erica, and Crow. Bertha, Erica, Crow. Crow paled. Judge Ford stood. May I have everyone's attention? Thank you. Please listen very carefully to what I have to say. We found the answer to Sam Westing's puzzle. Now what are we going to do? Remember, we have no evidence of any kind against this unfortunate woman. We don't even have proof that Sam Westing was murdered. Can we accuse an innocent woman of a murder that has never been proved? Crow is our neighbor and our helper. Can we condemn her to a life of imprisonment just to satisfy our own greed? For money promised in an improbable and illegal will? If so, we are guilty of a far greater crime than the accused. Bertha Erica Crow's only crime is that her name appears in the song. Our crime would be selling, yes, I said selling for profit, the life of an innocent, helpless human being. The judge paused to let her words sink in. Then she turned to her partner. Her voice hardened. As for the matter of this vicious game, she paused. What's happening to him? Sandy's hand flew to his throat. He struggled to his feet, red-faced and gasping, and crashed to the floor in eye-bulging agony. Jake Wexler and Denton Deere hurried to his aid. Theo pounded on the door, shouting for help. Ed Plum unlocked the door and 2 strange men rushed past him. One, carrying a doctor's bag, quickly limped on crooked legs to the side of the writhing doorman. I'm Dr. Sykes. Everyone, please move away. The heirs heard a low groan, then a rasping rattle, then nothing. Sandy! Sandy! Turtle screamed, pushing through the restraining hands. She looked down on the doorman sprawled at her feet. His face was twisted in rigid pain, his mouth gaped over the chipped front tooth. The taped glasses had fallen from his blue eyes that were locked in an unseeing stare. Suddenly his body straightened in one last violent twitch. His right eye closed, then opened again, then Sandy moved no more. "He's dead," Dr. Sykes said, gently turning her away. "Dead?" Judge Ford repeated numbly. How could she have been so wrong? So very wrong? A sob tore through Turtle's soul as she ran to Baba's comforting arms. Baba, I don't want to play anymore." The second stranger, the sheriff of Weston County, herded them back to the game room. Without thinking, the heirs seated themselves at the assigned tables. Turtle sat quietly. It was Florida Bombach's turn to weep. Crow waited. Only the throbbing veins in her tightly clasped hands told of her torment. "Excuse me, sir," Ed Plum said. "I realize this may seem inappropriate, but according to Samuel W. Westing's will, I must read another document on the hour." The sheriff checked his watch. What kind of a madhouse is this? And there's something mighty fishy about this cocky kid lawyer calling in the middle of dinner, insisting that I hurry right over. That was half an hour before anyone died. "Go ahead," he grumbled. Plum cleared his throat 3 times under the sheriff's suspicious glare. 16th. I, Samuel W. Westing of Westington, born Sam Windy Windclopple of Watertown. I had to change my name for business purposes. After all, who would buy a product called Windclopple's toilet tissues? Would you? Do hereby declare that if no one wins, this will is null and void. So hurry, step right up and collect your prize. The lawyer will count off 5 minutes. Good luck and a happy 4th of July. Windclopple? Did someone say Windclopple? Grace Wexler slurred. I knew a Westing wasn't an immigrant's name, Sidel Pulaski said. I knew it. The man was insane, Denton Deere diagnosed. Shh! They were struggling with their conscience. Millions and millions of dollars just for naming her name. 1 minute is up. The heirs stared at the answer. Bertha Erica Crow. A religious fanatic, maybe even crazy, but a murderer? They had no evidence that Westing was murdered. The judge said so. Crow waited. She had not suffered enough for her sins. Her penance was yet to begin. 2 minutes are up. $200 million, Turtle thought, but who gets it? The last part the lawyer read wasn't very businesslike. Besides, she could never peach on anybody, not even Crow. Who cares about anything anyhow? Sandy is dead. Sandy was her friend. Now she'll never see him again. Ever. Judge Ford tried not to look at the empty chair at her table, Mr. McSuther's chair. Her one concern was the safety of Crow. The judge watched the heirs and waited. Crow waited. 3 minutes are up. Westing wasn't murdered. The judge said so. But what about Sandy? He was drinking from the flask Crow had filled, and he died choking. Poison? Crow felt the eyes on her. The hating eyes. They scoffed at her beliefs. They joked about her soup kitchen. Only 2 people here mattered to her. She was so tired of waiting. 4 minutes are up. The answer is Bertha Erica Crow. No, Angela cried. No. She's crazy, Otis Amber shouted. She doesn't know what she's saying. Yes, I do, Otis, Crow said flatly, and repeated her statement. The answer is Bertha Erica Crow. She rose and turned to the confused lawyer. I am Bertha Erica Crow. I am the answer, and I am the winner. Give half of my inheritance to Otis Amber to be used for the Good Salvation Soup Kitchen. I give the rest of my money to Angela. That's the end of chapter 24. We will continue in chapter 25 in the next video. Thanks for joining.